All right, so I'm excited to be here with you guys today. I am Tiffani Dickerson. I'm the owner of Breast Choice Lactation, and I love partnering with Mom and Care Kit because of their amazing postpartum kits that they have that include a breast pump. I'm a lactation consultant located right here in Dallas, Texas, right outside of Dallas, actually in suburbia DeSoto. I am a suburbia girl at heart. City is life is not for me. I'm the mother of two. I have a almost 5-year old as of August 1st and an 8-year old. And I got thrown, as I like to call it, or humbled into motherhood 8 years ago when I had my daughter prematurely at 27 weeks. And so I am very familiar with exclusively or primarily pumping, as well as my almost 5-year old that was born at 41 weeks that exclusively nursed. So we're going to talk about the increasing milk flow today. This is 2.0. So it's building on some of the things that we discussed in the first session. If you missed it, you're not going to feel left out. I promise you. I kind of give you a highlight of it a little bit when we first get into this, and then we'll just build on that a little bit more. Why are we doing increasing milk flow, y'all? It's because so many times when I see a lot of clients in our sessions or on our virtual calls, you guys have a lot of concerns about, am I going to make enough milk? Am I making enough milk? My milk supply is dropping. And so I want to help you guys really amplify your confidence in that your body is producing enough. And if you're in with us today and you are still expecting and pregnant, how to ensure that you can get off to the best and breast start possible. Okay. So drop in the chat for me real quick because I love interaction. As I have said, let me know where you are. Are you still expecting? If so, how far along are you? And if you are postpartum, let me know how old your baby is. And that way we can always ebb and flow a little bit based on our audience for today's session.
We got Louise, 4 weeks postpartum. Jennifer expecting 28 weeks, 3 days, down to the.
Okay.
We got Hannah, 30 weeks. We've got
Uh-huh.
Sydney. She's doing September. Okay. And Dina had her baby boy June 28th. He is now
Okay.
2 weeks. Congrats.
Mhm.
What else we got? Juanita expecting 36 weeks. And then we got
Okay.
Shay. She is due in December, but she do have older children, 111 and 1-8. Brianna,
Mhm.
2 weeks and 4 days. Niche,
Oh, Therese, she's early.
yeah, she Nashaya expecting 34 weeks, scheduled for C-section in 36 weeks. Okay, all right, mamas.
Yes. Okay. I love it. I love a good mix and a good group. So we're going to talk about this through two different lenses. I will speak to the nursing parents or the expectant parents that are still in the room, and then I'll also speak to postpartum. So if you are in the postpartum, don't worry, I got you covered as well. All right. So we're going to hop into this because often so many times, like I said, you guys are navigating concerns about your milk flow, and we don't have to do that. I mentioned a little bit about me. And now we're going to just kind of really cover where we left off. Okay. So, in part one, what did we really talk about? We just really covered the basics of what controls milk flow. And so today we're just going to go a little bit deeper, not too much anatomy and physiology, but just some understanding for you guys. And so if you look in this picture, okay, now wait, before I say go, don't go yet, because y'all be ready. Okay. So if you look at this picture of this breast that I have, okay, one of these is full of milk and one of these barely has any milk. Based on the picture, talk to me in the chat. Based on the picture, which one of those do you think is going to make more? Is it going to make more over here on this? We'll call this our left breast, or is it going to make more on our right breast? Which one is going to make more?
We got left, left, left,
Mm-hmm.
left,
Left.
left.
Mm-hmm. Left. Okay. This is really interesting. I must say, I was not expecting this, Rita, but I'm so glad that y'all are actually here with me because the one that's actually going to be the driver and tell the body to make more milk is actually, guys, this one right here.
Why is that?
So that is why we are here today to talk about how we gonna make these breasts make more milk, right? So the one on the left is full of milk. And so basically it becomes like a shut-off valve and it signals
Oh,
to your
okay.
body not to make more milk. The one on the right is empty, it's drained well, you're feeding your baby frequent, you're pumping often, you're draining that breast really well. And so it signals to your body, ooh, I didn't kind of came and got a little bit low. Let me go ahead and refill. So it's like a restock. So you will see that really often. Excuse me. And when you look at these two breasts, you will also notice that if when baby is latching onto these breasts, the ones that are a lot more empty means that that baby's done a really good job at draining it, right? If a baby got onto this breast, and there's still all this milk, we would be wondering, did that baby really get everything out possible? And so this right here is an example on kind of how we build our milk supply. We want the babies to be getting all that milk out, or if you're pumping, we want it to be draining your breast as well as possible so that it can replenish and it's going to essentially just start to refill. What does this look like and feel like for you? Well, the beauty is that your body is already designed to do this. So, tell me in the chat, since when has your body been making milk? Let me know. When does the body start making milk? When does it start? Talk to me in the chat.
Don't be shy. Jennifer said after birth.
Mm-hmm. After birth. Any other guesses? Okay. The body actually starts making milk, y'all, since about 14 to 16 weeks. So when you're crossing over from your first trimester to your second trimester, your body starts making milk called colostrum. It essentially starts building a reserve tank for your baby. And that is going to be what they eat off of that first day or two. And then once your placenta is delivered, it is essentially what has kept your body pregnant. It's told your body that it needs to nourish the baby. The light switch then happens, and now your body takes over producing milk. So it essentially is making all the milk for your baby once that placenta delivers. Okay. So the umbilical cord was connected to the placenta and it gave all the nutrients. And then once that placenta goes away, your something has got to take over to feed this baby. The light switch of prolactin and your placenta being delivered is essentially what drives your milk supply. So a great way to get off to a milk start is to make sure that your placenta gets fully delivered, right? We would not want that part of that to be left behind. So you'll be seeing your OB and your midwife be all breathing a calm sigh of relief if your placenta once your placenta is being delivered, okay?
When did you say the milk starts coming in again?
Sure, about 14 to 16 weeks
After birth or
during pregnancy.
I haven't gotten any. Are you talking about like when it starts producing or like when it starts leaking?
So the body is already producing it. We often can't see it, but with changes that we're starting to see, which are a great sign that milk is going to flow, breast is getting bigger, areola, which is going to be the darker pigmented part right here, is
Oh
getting
yeah.
bigger. And then this is just starting to feel heavier and fuller. And then there's little dots right around on your areola that should start to become a little bit more prominent. So all those are great signs that your body is ready to make the milk flow.
Okay, so it's making it, but we're not gonna start seeing it come out until birth, correct?
Yes, and some people will. That's a great question, Jennifer. Some people will start leaking milk towards the end of their trimester, but not everyone does. And so that's not any indication of how breastfeeding is going to go for you.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome. So moving right along, we talk about the science behind supply. So I kind of gave you a little bit of that already. I have this cute little picture to show you what prolactin looks like. So that essentially tells your body to make milk. So a really important thing is to understand when is this hormone called prolactin that tells your body to make milk? When is that going to be the highest? Drop it in the chat for me. Is it going to be in the morning, in the afternoon, in the nighttime? What time?
Dina
Yes.
said at night. Louise said morning.
Yes. Dina, you got it. Dina is got it. Yes. So it's going to be really high in the middle of the night and first thing in the morning. Well, Tiffany, what does that mean? What time are you talking? I'm so glad you asked. That's going to be somewhere between 12 a.m. and 7 a.m. So somewhere in between there, you want to have as many orders placed. So just think about yourself as a lovely restaurant and just think about it's a 24/7 one. So Waffle House is by me in Texas. I don't know what 24-hour restaurants and diners that y'all may have, but that's what we have in Texas. And if you out late night, you going to Waffle House, go get something to eat. So your baby is essentially at this Waffle House whenever it wants, this 24/7 restaurant. And each time they come and they eat, that is like a customer ordering something. And if you have ever been a business owner or seen a restaurant, the more customers they have, the more income they're generating. And so for you, the more orders that your VIP customer, which is your baby, is placing and making and by eating, the more milk that you're going to have. So a way that we increase our milk flow is ensuring that between those hours of 12 a.m. and 7 a.m., we are really just letting this baby do whatever they want and feed as often as they would like versus restricting them, right? It's no customer turned away. Okay, so at the Waffle House, nobody is saying you can't come in. So we don't turn these customers or these babies away. That's going to allow your body to get a lot of orders placed. And then you will start to see that in the first thing in the morning, generally, you have a higher milk supply. So drop in the chat for me. Are you planning to primarily nurse? Are you going to do a combination? Are you going to be pumping exclusively? Let me know what your journey is already looking like if you're postpartum or what you want it to look like if you are still expecting. Let me know in the chat. Combo Shay, nurse and pump. Okay. Okay. Combo, but just trying to do breastfeeding. Okay. Oh, amazing, amazing, amazing. So, you're going to be able to see that more so if you're pumping. You will hear it more so if you're nursing. So what that looks like in a baby that's primarily nursing, lots of swallows, lots of wet and dirty diapers. They may even blow their pants out in the middle of eating. If you're pumping, you'll notice a higher volume of milk during that time. Now, everybody's a little bit different, but for most people, that's when the milk volume is the highest.
Now,
Okay.
Savannah was saying, no, that's Naisha. She said combo, but she wants a little freezer stash. So I'm sure you're probably
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. So if you just think about that, and I've kind of told you when the prolactin level is highest, Naisha, if you add a pump in after you nurse, first thing in the morning, like 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., that's when your milk supply, because of that higher prolactin level, is going to be ready to go. That'll be a great time to add a pump session after you nurse.
Same thing with Tanika. She wants to store it, so that answered that question. Go ahead.
Oh, great, 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 great. I'm glad to see that we're already listen, we're only a couple minutes in and we already are getting some of these questions answered. I love, love, love to see it. Okay, so as we continue going, we've already talked a little bit about the restaurant analogy, right? So, a restaurant essentially is your baby nourishing from you and just thinking of yourself as the kitchen. You have the most organic, the most natural milk provided uniquely and special for your baby. And so, in thinking about this, we want to think about, when are some times that this restaurant might get rush hour, which is known as cluster feeding, because that essentially is going to also increase your milk flow. So drop in the chat for me, when are babies tended to cluster feed? Let me know in the chat.
Nighttime. Shay Dallas said nighttime.
Mm-hmm. Yep, nighttime.
Oh, at night. The Shay
And
is.
mhm, we start to see babies doing more of these clustered feedings, which essentially means feeding back to back on that second day of life. They're doing this because your milk has to do some amazing things. It's essentially going to convert from these small amounts to this higher amount of milk. And in order to do so, it needs lots of orders placed in order to make that transition. So somebody drop in the chat for me. When is the most crucial time for your milk supply? When is it? When is that window of when your body needs good signs in order to know it needs to make more milk? Have you heard anything?
A morning, first 6 weeks, birth to 12 weeks, first 48 hours.
Yes. First 6 weeks, got it. Is that Dina?
Who says 6 weeks in here? Let me see. That's Tanika.
Okay, come on, Tanika. I know Dina's been in some of our other classes. Yes.
Yeah.
So the first 6 weeks. So what that means is the first 2 to 3 weeks specifically, that is when your body is trying to decide, am I going to make this full supply or am I not? But the first 6 weeks, which is also known as the first 40 days, you truly want to make sure that you're having somewhere between 8 to 16 nursing sessions and or pump sessions a day. So if you look at your whole day, you want to make sure your baby's nursed at least 8 to 16 times and or you've nursed or pumped. So if you don't nurse that you're pumping instead, just if you look at that whole total, that there is a totality of 8 to 16 of those sessions a day. Okay. And then just also knowing that anytime something is going into your baby's mouth, you want to be signaling to your body that it still needs that. So, how many people have a goal of having their partners, I'm going to have my partner feed my baby and I'm going to go to sleep? Put it in the chat if that's you. My partner is going to do the nighttime feedings. Let me know if that's your goal.
It's quiet. It's quiet over there.
It is quiet. So we just want to make sure that if our partner is supporting us or someone, a family member is helping and they're feeding the baby a bottle of pump breast milk, that somehow we're signaling to our body that we needed to replace that. So the easiest way to do that is either I'm going to nurse and then my partner or my family member is going to I'm going to pump and either my partner or my family member is going to feed the milk that I just pumped. Or if I'm pulling from my stash, I'm going to grab this milk for my partner or my family member to feed, and then I'm going to pump simultaneously to replace what they just got. Otherwise, if you don't do that, it's definitely going to down-regulate your milk supply. So that is one way by signaling to our body that we still need that milk, that we keep and increase our flow. All right. All right. So, how many of y'all have heard this term letdown? What is a letdown? Anybody? It's on here.
I say like a letdown is more like, say, if you're trying to breastfeed and you don't produce enough milk, you could get let down by that because you really want to do that because it's bonding time with your baby.
Yes. So, you know what? That's exactly what it sounds like it would be. So, I'm hoping this time this term is kind of counterproductive because a letdown does sound like something that, is unpleasant, all those kind of things. But actually, in this particular example, what a letdown means is a like release, an ejection. So it's actually a squeezing inside of your milk ducts that pushes that milk out. So just imagine, for example, this milk is inside of ducts way up here, and it's got to get all the way down here to either get out to the breast pump or to get to your baby. And in order for that to happen, there has to be this contraction like feeling. So I essentially will say it's like traveling from high upstate all the way down. So if we're going from the West Coast to the East Coast and we're trying to speed that up, we're going to try to do as much as we can. We want to find the shortest route to be able to get there. So doing things to support our letdown are going to be doing things that actually make us feel good. This letdown or this milk ejection reflex happens when we have like those warm fuzzy feelings. If you've ever just like looked at something and it just like, oh, it just made you feel so warm and fuzzy inside, that's very comparable to what a milk ejection or a letdown actually feels like. And so we want to be mindful, like if we want to have a better milk flow, what are things that we can do to increase our milk ejection, right? There are actually certain herbs that can help that. So if you see pictured here, one of them we carry is called fennel. And fennel is one of the herbs that can help support your milk flow. So it supports your milk getting ejected and released out of there. We pair that with holy basil and caraway seed. And so that's called our Let It Flow tea. And essentially, let it flow. It supports your milk flow. So other things are when you get those warm, fuzzy feelings from your partner. So if somebody gives you like a massage and that makes you feel really good, that's a way that can support your milk ejection and releasing. So if you're still pregnant, this actually is something that is encouraged during labor in order to help get your baby earthside, because that same squeezing and contracture like sensation that happens while you're nursing can also happen while you're still pregnant in the birthing and labor process to help squeeze your uterus to get your baby out. So it's the same hormone called oxytocin that actually regulates both of those things, right? So if we want our milk to flow, we have to know the things that are going to support that. Even something warm, like putting a warm towel to our breast, taking a warm shower, that's going to support opening up those milk ducts and allowing that milk to flow. Moving oxygen into our body. So taking slow and deep breaths, looking at sounds or pictures of our baby if we're away from them, being mindful of what our position looks like. If our jaws are really clenched, if I'm like, oh, this baby's about to latch, oh, this baby's about to latch, and my body's going to be like, but I'm not going to let the milk flow. So we want to be mindful of those things that are happening. Playing some sound or music, if it's a song you really like, that can support your milk ejecting and flowing. I use something called brain tap in my practice, which is essentially like frequency or sound waves, and that can be very supportive of whatever mental block you have, allowing that to be moved away and released so that your milk can flow. Because when our stress level is high, it surges something called cortisol levels. And when that goes up, it basically stunts our letdown or our milk ejection. So we want to make sure that we can do things to optimize reducing our stress, reducing any pain or discomfort we may have, and then just being mindful of where we mentally are in that time, in that space. All right. So building your flow ritual, what does that look like for you? It can be that sometimes our brain will often memorize some of the things that we do frequently. So for example, if every morning you get up and you wake up, you make a cup of hot tea and ginger, every single day your body is going to expect you to do that. And after a while, it just becomes a habit. Well, the same thing can happen also when you're going to promote and encourage your milk flow. If you think about a certain thing, or you apply a certain fragrance or smell, as soon as your brain remembers that smell, it's going to associate it to a thing that happens when it's done. So if I want my milk to eject very easily, I may apply some lavender on my body, and I may smell that. And as my milk ejection is happening, I'm smelling that, so that the next time I go to smell lavender and I'm wanting a milk ejection to happen, my brain is going to remember those things. And so that's called brain mapping. It also could be something as whenever I go to pump, I'm going to place something warm to my breast to encourage the milk to flow, whether I'm nursing or pumping. It also could be something as simple as I know that I'm going to offer the baby both breasts because I want my body to get the signal that I need milk from both sides. So I'm going to come to this breast as an appetizer. I'm going to come here as an entree, and then I may come back again over here for dessert in order to encourage my body to make a higher milk flow. Those first early days, what it also could look like to really help your milk transition is after my baby nurses well, I'm going to do some hand expression, and that's going to really encourage my milk to flow. So hand expression looks like manually extracting milk out with your hands. So it starts with a little bit of a warm up by tapping all over the breast and massaging really well, placing your fingers lined up with the nipple. So this is your areola. It can be smaller or bigger, but you're going to line your fingers up with the nipple. And then you're going to go in a massage-like motion, moving that back and forth like you're massaging milk out. And when you do this after a feeding, it essentially is like placing another order, and that stimulates to your body to make more milk quickly. So that can be really, really helpful that first week when you're helping your body to transition from that colostrum to your second phase of your milk.
We do have a question. Juanita asks, does milk ejection letdown feel different than regular breastfeeding?
That's a great question. So it essentially is a part of breastfeeding. It's when that milk is first getting released out of the ducts and getting ready to flow. Some people will feel that and some people do not. When you do feel it, oftentimes it's kind of described a couple different ways as that warm or fuzzy feeling. Some people will feel like a tingling sensation essentially kind of shoot up from here up. They'll just feel like a tingling sensation. The same thing can happen when those breasts are drained and then they're going to refill. Some people will feel that. You'll also see some people leaking milk out whenever that happens. So if you've ever heard stories of a nursing person being like in the store and a baby cries and their body responds to that bonding of hearing a baby cry and they look down and they have milk leaking everywhere, that is thanks to that milk ejection reflex or that letdown, essentially. Great question. Okay. And then we get to this component of it when we think about, okay, I've gotten a good scar. I've done things that Tiffany is suggesting. My baby is nursing often. I'm doing hand expression. What are some things that I can eat or what are some things that I can drink that will support my milk supply? So we use different foods are known culturally and historically and ancestrally to be what we call galactagogues, or you also hear it called lactogenic foods. It's a really fancy name, y'all. I essentially just simplify it down to milk making foods because that just is easier to understand, right? And so these are foods that can support you making a higher milk supply. They're known to just have those properties. So I always love to encourage families that I'm supporting to ask their family members. Your grandmama is usually who I go to, or someone in your community that has breastfed about what some of the drinks or the teas or what some of the foods they make culturally that support milk supply. So we'll see, like, for example, in our practice, we use fennel. And in the Middle Eastern Indian culture, they actually use fennel in postpartum to support milk production and also postpartum healing. And so you just want to kind of find out culturally what are some of those things. And different ethnicities and cultures, when I worked with a Nigerian family, they shared with me that they use cassava leaves in their culture in order to support the mother's milk for transitioning. So each culture does have some of their own rooted herbs and foods that they utilize to support postpartum healing and also milk production. These are a little bit more standardized, like just more in the US that we tend to gravitate towards too, which is things in the nut and seed family. So pumpkin seeds, almonds, sunflower seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, those are all some lactogenic foods. Also, you'll notice that a lot of these things are just very healthy, good, nutritious things to put in your body anyways. Dark leafy vegetables, sweet potatoes. If you love these things, incorporate them. If you don't force yourself to eat things that you don't enjoy. You'll see a lot of times too, especially on social media, that oats are talked about a lot, or really it's anything in that oat family, and those truly are known to be lactogenic. That is things like oatmeal, barley, quinoa, rice, those things, brewer's yeast, that still falls into that family. So there's a drink that's made similar to horchata, and it has a porridge base to it with coconut milk, and that is known to also be lactogenic. Papaya is known to be lactogenic, and so these are some things that can also support your milk supply. When you are breastfeeding, in order to keep that milk flowing, you want to ensure that you are taking good care of yourself as well. So a 300 to 500 extra calories a day is recommended for breastfeeding families. Whether you're pumping, whether you're nursing, all that is encompassing of providing nutrition for your body, from your body for your baby. You really do need that higher milk supply. I'm sorry, you really do need that higher nourishment in order to have an adequate milk supply. So, protein, the body loves protein, especially while you're breastfeeding. So, making sure that protein is there as well as hydration. So, you'll see, like, Body Armor suggested a lot on social media. The component of that is supporting your milk supply is the coconut water, because coconut water is 3 times as hydrating as regular water. as well as if you are deficient in those minerals and electrolytes that are in that body armor, it is replenishing your body, which then allows you to make a more ample milk supply. Okay. And so if you want a copy of this, I've included the QR code for you guys to grab it and you can have access to this document here. Any questions so far? Are we learning some stuff? Is this stuff we've heard before? Am I confirming?
Yes, this is all new to me. I barely know anything about breastfeeding, so I'm learning. So
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Excellent.
I've seen this online on Facebook.
Mhm.
Good.
Good.
Excellent.
That's just what this space is for. Okay. Okay, so her herbal teas for milk flow. So I touched on like two of the more common ones on this last slide here, which is fennel, herbs that contain fennel, and herbs that contain moringa. You just always want to make sure that anytime you are taking herbs, I don't know everything about you and your health history, so I just want to make sure and ensure that someone is aware of that. So making sure that you're either working one-on-one with the lactation consultant or that your primary care physician knows what herbs you're taking to make sure that they don't contraindicate anything else that you may be consuming. Because sometimes herbs and medications can have a contraindication, meaning they don't pair well together. So two herbs from our herbal teas from our collection is our Let It Flow tea with the fennel, caraway seed, and nettle, and holy basil, and that supports releasing any clogged ducts as well as flow. And then we have a moringa based one, which I kind of touched a little bit on. Moringa is like a super green food, so it's great anytime in postpartum. Really, it does support milk flow as well. We paired that with an ashwagandha, which is great for mood stabilization, and then matcha, just to have a complementary note to take some of that bitterness out of the moringa. And so all these are available on our website to support milk flow. So these are really great if you are kind of in that threshold of 4 to 6 weeks. I'm going to be navigating back to work. My baby has started sleeping longer. I feel like my milk supply has dropped a little bit. These are great teas to support that. And it's also knowing what's normal. So, a full milk supply, if you are expressing or pumping your milk, is going to be 3 to 4 ounces combined from both breasts about 3 weeks forward. So, at 1 week, we are not expecting your body to be making 3 to 4 ounces. We're expecting drops to come out up into a tablespoon, and each day it's going to increase. And by 1 week, you will be making around 1.5 to 2 ounces. And then by the second or third week, that increases when you are having often milk and frequent milk removal 8 to 16 times a day. It will place enough orders to your body that that milk will start to increase. And that's how you can increase your flow and maintain that. Any questions so far?
How much was it again for a full supply?
3 to 4 ounces combined from both breasts, and that is on average every 3 hours. So if you were to say 3 to 4 ounces about 8 times a day, that would give you 24 to 32 ounces, and that's only if you are exclusively primarily pumping. If you're nursing, you're just not gonna see it as much. So it'll just be a mix of seeing, well, my baby nursed really well. If they nurse well, great. There should be less milk available. So if the baby has nursed really well from both sides and you go to pump afterwards, all we would expect is about 1/2 ounce to 1 ounce combined from both breasts. Great if it's more, but that's all we're expecting.
We got another question. Juanita said, by which week for full supply?
2 to 3 weeks. Often by 3 weeks, we're seeing that. And so that's why the most crucial time frame is around that window, because we want to kind of we do this work, this intentional work to establish it. Then we want to ensure that we can maintain it. And in maintaining it, we want it to stay nice and high until we get to 6 weeks. The reason for that is because at 6 to 9 weeks, there's a big hormone shift that happens. Remember when that placenta came out and it told your body it wasn't pregnant anymore? Well, around 6 to 9 weeks, those hormones that can allow you to conceive again come back into play called progesterone and estrogen. And that shifts your milk supply. It just naturally down regulates a little bit because when those hormones come back into play, it drops your prolactin level that tells your body to make milk just a little bit. And we don't want to do anything to intentionally down regulate it during those first 6 weeks because it's going to already have a natural down regulation on its own. So we want to just allow it to keep flowing, to keep doing our intentionality work and ensuring that we're having enough milk removals a day, which is on average about 8 to 16 times. And for babies nursing, it's higher on that, 16 time. If you are primarily pumping and you're on a schedule or a routine, that's going to be about every 2 to 3 hours that you should be pumping.
Another question.
Mhm.
Shank said, is there a correlation with supply for vaginal versus C-section births that you've seen?
Yes, and yes, and sometimes when babies are born by cesarean, that's a great question, by the way. Sometimes when babies are born by cesarean, there is sometimes a delay of your milk supply, and it's for a multitude of reasons. Often that those babies are a little bit sleepier because they're getting pain medication through the epidural, or if you've had general anesthesia, and it just makes them more sleepy, and so they don't want to eat as often as we would allow them to or want them to that first day because they're just more tired. And so those are missed opportunities for you to make more milk. To offset that, what I really encourage a lot of my families that are having babies that are born by cesarean is doing some hand expression after they nurse or pump those first couple of days in order to kind of expedite their body to make milk a little bit faster to offset that cesarean. And then your body is really smart. It's also prioritizing your own recovery. And there's a big fluid shift and change whenever you do have a cesarean. And then oftentimes your babies get a lot more, you get a lot more IV fluids for when you have a cesarean. So that little IV bag that hangs, they have to stabilize a lot of things like your blood pressure, and then you're not eating as well after cesarean delivery sometimes. And so because of all that, you're on more IV fluids that can make your body more swollen, and it can make it harder for the baby to latch and a little bit more challenging for milk to flow. So my solution to that is something called reverse pressure massage. And that's where we come right on the nipple area and we hold pressure and we move that fluid back towards your body, and that will allow the baby to latch on easier because whenever it gets really, really, really full, it actually can make your nipple kind of tunnel in like this because it's so much extra fluid. And we've got to somehow move that fluid so that that nipple can stick out and invert, and that can make it easier for the baby to latch onto.
Another question. Jennifer said, if we combo feed, do we pump less or how does that work?
So define for me what you mean by combination feeding, because that can mean a lot of different things.
If you want to unmute your mic, Jennifer, you can.
Breast milk.
Say that again.
Formula and breast milk. That's what I mean by
Okay.
combo.
Yes. So it depends on what your ultimate goal is. If your goal is more like a 50-50, you're not planning to give all breast milk, it is still very possible. Adding additional pump sessions in when you are giving that formula is what can kind of sustain and maintain the milk for you to be able to do that. And or it could look like, hey, I'm going to nurse and then I'm going to offer some formula afterwards. Just know that that will downregulate your milk some, and so it is less likely to have a full milk supply when you're doing combination feeding, but that's often parents' goals. And so that sometimes looks like a parent is going to nurse all day and then their partner is going to bottle feed the formula at night. Well, the body's not getting that stimulation when those levels are really high, so it's going to naturally tell the body it doesn't need that milk that it's trying to make overnight, and so that'll cause you to have a lower milk supply. So we want to limit supplementation if it's not, which is supplementation of formula. Let me be really clear about that. Early on in that first week, and unless it's medically necessary. And what medical necessary looks like is a baby that has lost greater than 10% on their weight. It may also look like a baby that has jaundice, where they're trying to have the baby take an extra amount of volume of milk to flush that jaundice level out of their system, which is yellowness of their skin. Or it could also mean that the baby has blood sugar checks and the blood sugars are low, and so they're wanting to give extra volume of milk via donor milk or formula in order to bring the baby's blood sugar up. So those are true medical reasons. Oftentimes, it's just uncertainty. And when the cluster feeding comes, a lot of families feel insufficient. But I really want you to go back to what we started with at the very beginning of the session. And that is that your body has been making milk since 16 weeks. It's literally a reserve tank. There's a lot of reserve to pull from. As your baby starts to pee and poop, they're going to start to make room for more milk. They will start to feed more often. And when you truly allow them to feed whenever they want, which is known as responsive feeding or on-demand feeding, it will just replenish and it will tell your body to make more milk.
Okay. I've got a testimony. Dina said that she received the Mama's Flow roll-on as a giveaway, giveaways, and she feel that it has helped her a lot in her 2 weeks.
Yes!
She said she's getting about 6 ounces from both breasts.
Yes!
When she breastfeed her other 2 children, she had 2.5 ounces, and then she also had 3 ounces. So she really recommend the Mama's Flow roll-on. Thank you so much, Dina, for that testimony.
Thank you for telling us that. So this is our Mama's Flow roll-on that's here. And I like to also show all varying amounts because we are just enough. Sometimes we can feel inadequate. I support you guys with amplifying your milk flow, but I also know what the expectations are. 3 to 4 ounces. If you're doing that, that's great. Sometimes families are navigating going back to work, and just having a little extra cushion can give you longevity in your breastfeeding journey. And so that's why we created our products essentially. So what Dina was just talking about, she was actually the recipient of the Mama's Flow. And this is a roller balm that was created by our herbalists that we partner with, and it's applied to the breast in a circular like motion, and it has essential oils in it that topically support increasing your body to produce more milk and the flow of that milk. So thank you so much for sharing your testimony, because we've had these products now for about a year or two in our practice, and we have seen that it has supported so many families. It can also help when your milk is making that transition. So that 3rd to 5th day, your body is going to go through these big hormonal changes. You go through something called engorgement, where the breasts swell up and get heavier and fuller in response to the milk. And this Mama's Flow, when you have it available, it essentially just pops things open. So all these milk ducts, it just opens that vascular tissue up and allows that milk to flow. And when that milk is getting drained, remember, it's starting to refill more. But if you had some stagnancy and that milk was not getting out, it's uncomfortable for you and it down regulates your milk supply. So this helps prevent things like mastitis, and you'll hear the term used, clogged ducts. When there's a coagulation and a blocking of those milk ducts, it's like a little dam in the river and that milk can't flow. But what the Mama's Flow does, or with warm and a variation of icing can do, is get the swelling down and then allow those ducts to open, and then that milk can start to flow. And that's all things that we are gearing towards in this setting, was improving your milk flow. So thank you again for that testimony.
Absolutely. Tanika has a question. She said her baby had all that done before he came home. He will feed every hour, but this morning he wanted to feed, and she didn't have enough. So she had to give him a bottle of 2 ounces.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about all that done. Let me know what you're referencing there so I can best support you.
He had to get his sugars tested. He's at risk for jaundice. His level did come down the day that I did bring him home. He came down from 11 to 8.
Okay.
But he literally had all of that testing done within the first 4 days of being here.
Okay. And he's 6 days old now?
Yes, actually he's a week old now.
Okay. So are you already pumping each time you give him those 2 ounces of formula?
Yes.
Okay. And are you starting to notice that your breasts are getting heavier and fuller, or are you starting to produce a little bit more milk?
I was engorged yesterday and the day before. Just today is just not there. I actually have a clogged duct under my arm that I've been struggling with for the last 3 days. So I don't know if that has a big issue to do with it. I'm
Mhm.
almost gotten it gone. It's
Mhm.
just, it was really big.
Mm.
Okay. So a rotation of ice may be more in your favor if it's really firm. So if you feel your forehead and you feel that area and it feels as firm as your forehead, I would move away from heat and I would just only do ice to allow that increase in that milk flow. And then you would be
Okay.
a great candidate for our mama's flow. Another thing, ladies, as we're on this call, I want to make sure that we touch a little bit on, and partners that may be joining us, is phalange sizing. We have to make sure that these phalanges are a proper size. So whether you're using a pump from the Mommy Care Kit, no matter what, if it's a wearable pump or a wall pump, we want to make sure that these phalanges are the adequate size. And so if it's too big or too small, it's milk's not going to be able to flow and it's going to down regulate your supply. So if you're pumping, I would expect, like I said, about half an ounce to an ounce after your baby has nursed really well. When you do that consistently for about 5 to 7 days, you should just start to see your milk increasing and that flow improving. But if your phalanges are too big, it's going to leave milk and you'll wind up with those hard spots still there. So what pump are you using? You
Um,
went through Mommy Care Kit?
I'm actually not using a pump. I strictly breastfeed,
Okay.
but in the hospital, I was using the hospital grade of the what is it? The one that starts with the M.
Yes, Medela. Mm-hmm.
So I don't have it. I brought that piece home with me, but I have this one and it's been working pretty good. It only lets me do one at a time, but I still
The
do
hand pump.
only, yes. And I
Okay.
still
Awesome.
do just the little bottles, because
Mm-hmm.
although he will take a 2 ounce bottle, he still does really good on the breast. It was just today was literally a struggle for us. He fed this morning
Mm-hmm.
a couple times, but when he went back to feed again, there was nothing there. So he was upset, he was fussy, he was sleepy. So I ended up having to give him a bottle.
Okay. So yeah, I would just make sure anytime you're giving him a bottle in that instance, I bet that your breast just got overly full. And so that reverse pressure depiction that I gave you is when
Mhm.
you're experiencing engorgement, that's something that can be helpful. I would try after you nurse and after you pump to put ice to your breast, cold bag of veggies or cold towel for 5 or 10 minutes. That's going to get the swelling and the engorgement down. Doing a little bit of a massage up towards the armpits, moving it over to the side. And then the last thing I would do for you specifically on that side where that breast is really clogged is something called breast gymnastics. And it's not you doing anything acrobatic, but it's taking the breast, moving it up and holding for about 5 or 10 seconds, moving it down. And you're going to go all around essentially to each fore area. And then you'll go around in a circle and then you'll go back around in a circle, and that will move those clogged, coagulated milk out of the way and allow that milk to flow. I bet that's what's happening with you. But you'd be a great candidate for our mama's flow. And then getting you a sizing tool and sizing, and the only thing that should come through here is just the nipple. So for example, on this one, it's actually a size 19,
Mhm.
not 24. So 24 is really big, and most women are not a 24. That would mean it would have to be this big.
Okay.
So on that hand pump, you probably need to go down on the size.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And
Thank
then,
you.
yes, you're so welcome. We also want to make sure that we're taking care of our nipples. So if we have damage, that's going to impede our milk flow because we're going to clench up every time we go to latch that baby. So
Mhm.
using some products, whether it's ours or it's a really good nipple butter with calendula like Earth Mama or Mother's Love to heal that damaged tissue. We have a double heal oil that also can support healing that tissue within 1 to 2 days, as well as our Mama's Healing Mist. So these are all products that are available on our website, and these are just some testimonies from our clients that also show the impact of, how bad and how damaged it can get and how we can support that healing process, which is going to then improve your milk flow. And then your wellness is important. So making sure that if there is a mental block going on, you find your way to do that. We use Brain Tap to do that, which is it's simply an application on your phone that provides over 2,500 programs of calming and soothing music. So there's a free 14-day trial that you can access by scanning the QR code. I will send all of this to Rita so you guys can have access to it. But rest and sleep are two different things in postpartum, and any opportunity that you can to rest your body will support your milk flow. Sleeping and having 8 and 6 hours of sleep is just not where you're going to be in postpartum, no matter how you decide to feed your baby, whether that's with breast milk or formula. So just really maximizing any opportunity that you can allow your body to truly rest.
We
And
got
then,
one more
oh,
question
sure.
before you go on. Juanita said, should those products be used even before it is required?
That's a good question. So prophylactically, so the Mama's Flow is perfect for that first week to have on board when you know you're going. We know that the body's going to go through engorgement. Frequent feedings is going to help and support that. So that's great to have on hand in order to kind of get ready for that. I would say the nipple butter is a great, just also we want to take care of those nipples. Even at the end of your pregnancy, things are changing. It gets dried out and that can cause some soreness. And so having a good quality nipple butter such as ours or Earth Mama or Mother's Love, if you've already gotten those are great to use. That can actually give you some protection so that you can set yourself up that you're not going into it with discomfort from day one. And then if you get into some damage, it's great to already have those things on board so that you have something to soothe and treat them versus you experience a damage and then now you're waiting for us to ship them out or you're waiting for those soothing products to have. So it's kind of a toolkit to already have available once your baby, before your baby even gets here. 100%. Now, if you're more so in postpartum, it's going to be more like the teas are kind of more soothing. The Mama's Flow is just great for anybody. If you're returning back to work, it's a true staple. So incorporating that into your regimen of back to work, we've seen a lot of families, like Dina mentioned, have success.
We got one more question. Jennifer said, I use nipple cream now because I noticed that they are dried out already.
Yes, highly recommend. And everything that is in our nipple butter and those other nipple butters are safe, unless you have an allergy to calendula to use in post and pregnant and postpartum. And most of those don't have to be wiped off in between nursing sessions.
Good.
Okay, so reasons to reach out is pain that's lasting beyond the first couple of seconds as a latch, because again, that pain can downregulate your milk supply. Your baby getting more than your body is making, that is going to downregulate your milk, and we want to increase it, and we want to increase and support your flow. If your supply is not increasing by the seventh day, or you're having any kind of drop and dip in your supply. And I always say, go back to the basics. Have you eaten and hydrated enough today? Always start there. Is there an issue with your pump or your phalange? Go there. Is there an issue with the way the baby's latching and they're down regulating your milk? So we just keep troubleshooting through each one of those things with the simplest things first instead of complex and then down. We just go to the very, very, very basics first. Are you eating enough? If you're not, your body may be like, I don't have enough nutrients on board to get to this baby. So we want to make sure we amplify your nutrition and your well-being. If you had a cup of coffee, coffee is okay while you're breastfeeding, but if you have that and then you go to pump, it's a stimulant. And so it restricts the blood flow down to the nipples. So your milk may not be able to eject or release if you have a cup of coffee and then pump. So just kind of being mindful of that. Hey, maybe I'm going to nurse my baby first and then pump. And then I'm going to know that by the time I go to do that again, it's out of my system. So just navigating all those different nuances in this.